Well, welcome to our first parent session of the 2023-2024 school year. We are delighted that you are here, and we're starting off with our homeschool families. We know that you educate all year long. Many of you are transitioning into homeschooling. Some of you have been homeschooling for a long time. Some of you are still trying to figure it out. So hopefully tonight you'll pick up some tools in terms of how to be effective and successful at homeschooling. So I want to start off by really just making a notation that Parents Challenge is not a scholarship organization. I want to make it very clear. It doesn't mean that we don't provide scholarships and grants. We do. But we are not a scholarship organization. We are a parental engagement organization. And what that means is that we've got a partnership. That means you will provide and you will provide. And that's the only way that our organization works. So it's not that you just receive money from us and go to your own thing. That's a piece of it. But the other piece of it is you are your child's first teacher. Those of you that homeschool know that. But some of you also have the homeschool, but you also have a child in private school, in charter school, and public school. And in that, still knowing that you are your child's first teacher. So whether they go to a brick and mortar building or they stay at home, their success is based on what you as a parent puts into it. And that's the important piece for us. So as part of Parents Challenge, one of the things is that we have these parent sessions, and the whole purpose of these parent sessions are for you to get information and knowledge and resources. So whatever that particular topic is related to that subject, you can make sure that you know what the resources are that are available. All of our speakers are individuals that are in the community, either individuals or from organizations or from corporations, and they all support Parents Challenge families. And that's why we're always excited, because the information that they provide is on point. It is being used. It is something that's not somebody's read the book and put it out there and hope that it makes sense. No, these individuals are living in the space that they're sharing the information in. So we always ask questions, because here's your opportunity to walk away with some to share resources. In this room, we have individuals that are homeschooling. We have individuals that are still have their scholars and other choice options, and that's exciting as well, because you'll get a chance to meet others that are in that space, but also others that are providing other resources for you. All of you are in band, yes. All of you have connected with your parent coordinators, yes. You know who they are, okay. No emails, yes. We don't respond to emails, but we do respond to you in fan. So if you said anything in fan, we will certainly respond to you. So we changed two names, and I want to make everybody aware of what those two names are. So in Parents Challenge, we have people that are on a wait list, and none of you are ever going to be on the wait list again, right? So you're not going to fill out that application that's on the website. And then we have new families. So how many of you, this is your first year at Parents Challenge? Awesome. So welcome. And then we have families that are returning families, and we have veteran families. So we're now going to make a distinction between returning families and veteran families. And veteran families are not military families. We keep having that as a problem, so we're going to change that. So veteran families, you'll know who you are because we have already told you that you're a veteran family. So if you are a veteran family, you are now going to be called a platinum family. Okay, so you're at the top of the line. You are a platinum family. So on that back table, where it's Jessica standing, you're going to get a platinum star. Okay, so if you are a platinum family, walk out of here with your platinum star. If you are a returning family and are not a Latino family, then you are a gold family. Okay? And so Jessica is holding up a bell that you will pick up. So if you are a gold family, make sure you pick up your bell before you leave. And platinum, make sure you pick up your star. So when you see those two names now, know that's who we're talking to. Returning families will now be called gold families, and veteran families will now be called platinum families. So you won't hear returning or veteran any longer. Any questions on that? All right. I know that we got families still coming in, so if you've got seats next to you, make sure that they know you've got some seats open so they can be seated. And now it's Jessica.
I am very pleased to introduce our guest speaker this evening, Debra Nelson. Debra holds a master's degree in teaching English to speakers of other languages. She is a 20-year public school educator and has 17 years of experience homeschooling her children. She is a new facilitator to teach us the sessions of Parents Challenge this year, and we're very excited for her to share her knowledge and expertise on the topic of homeschooling. Please join me in welcoming Debra Nelson. Good evening, everyone. All right. So, let's see if I can make this thing work. Hey! So, first, let's like to say thank you for being here. I applaud Parents Challenge to what they're doing here for parents, for families, and for the community. And it's an honor to participate really in empowering education, food education in the Colorado Springs area. And on that note, I know you all are eating, but I'm going to do something that I do with my students first day. And this is an affirmation. So I don't know if I'm going to hold the mic and do that thing, and whatever, we'll figure it out. So if you would feel so inclined, in honor of our cultural norms, look at each other. If you have more than one person, look at the kind of three, let's just see there are three at the table, and look at each other's eyes and say, you are way more than enough for your children. You can do this. Wow. All right. Now I'm going to ask you to own that and look to me and say, Mrs. Nelson, I am way more than enough for my children. I can do this. Yes, you can. All right, that's awesome. So this is my standard opening in a learning session with my children, and they really love it. They remind me if I forget, and there are a lot of different statements that I use to stimulate thinking about who we are and the power that we hold for influence. And it's a quick way that it teaches them some really important relational brain skills, like healthy social engagement, the power of positive affirmation and gratitude, the importance of directing our thinking where we want to live and breathe and have our being, and owning our personal power and identity. And so I'll change this, sometimes I'll keep it for a week, and I'll change it every day, it just depends. So I'd like to have you guys be engaged a little bit, and this is called a Think, Pair, Share. Everybody's familiar with the Think, Pair, Share? And it's the public school thing. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take just a few seconds to think about what impact would this have on your day or learning session with your child. And then I'd like for you to share that out with people at your table. How would an exercise like this impact the start of your day with your child or the start of the lesson? Okay, so what you just did, were you engaged I in the affirmation? Yes. Express the mind that the motivation. This is the end. Some. Okay, would anybody like to share out? You can around your table, be brave and share out. Or you can do what? Okay. Oh, sorry. Another here. Sure that one. Yeah, go ahead. All right, what's your name? I'm usually going to finish her out with us. Go ahead. Yeah.
That. So what I was telling the age you want to do something.
What I was telling Angie was, this is already talked about. I'm just like, what I was telling Angie was, this is something that I already do with my children because we believe in speaking life, speak positive, and that you are what you speak, and you only go where you want, you only go where you say you're going to go. So please think they'll know you. So as far as being positive, I guess this is just a great reminder to continue doing that.
So I got this idea from the movie The Help, where a family is saying to Nick Baldwin, he was kind, he was smart, he was important. I just thought that's exactly what I want my children to do at school. So I started doing it that way. All right, so now I'm going to, if it's not working, let's see. Okay, I'm going to give you a 1, 2, 3 success plan. It's a little bit long and between some of them, but we're going to start here. Okay, so number 1 is really setting a tone, which we just talked about here. Setting a relational tone with your children. So this is something that I really need a reminder of because I'm pretty attendant driven sometimes, and so I've just to learn over the years of getting older about your relationship to priority. Maslow's hierarchy of needs says that the most significant needs that we all have is for safety and belonging, and perhaps you've heard, we all know the saying, right, that nobody cares about what you know until they know that you care. And I also got something from some colleague at school that said, she had her window that said, children won't forget what you say, but they won't forget how you make them feel. And that is such a true statement. This particular lady ended up, I used to be teaching with her as the yellow teacher, and then she became a vice principal, and she was my supervisor in that 1 year. And she just really had that impact on my life. She made me feel very good. So children, by the way, you need to be seen, heard, and felt, and making time to make this a priority, making relationship your priorities will have a huge impact on the success you have with them. So the next thing is setting expectations. So when I first began subbing in public school, this did not go very well with me because I was not good at this either. Especially with the high school students, and they'll walk all over you and not know who you are and what you're expecting them to. So after a few weeks of this frustration, I got a download for this. It said, you need to set your expectations at the beginning of the class or the day, and give you a 1, 2, 3 on that too. So number 1 is respect, which should be mutual, and number 2 is making wise choices. And that includes using your time and your resources wisely. And number 3 is consequences. So on number 1, with respect, also communicate that we all have a job to do. And for me, my job was teaching, their job was learning. So on the consequences for number 3, rewards can be positive or they may be negative. Consequences can be positive and negative. So that would be based on the choices of number 1 and number 2. Show respect, you get positive consequences and vice versa. So one thing to keep in mind with this is that his priorities are different than our priorities. Right? So Does that mean that we should not set priorities? Absolutely not. Or set expectations. So I also want to share two things that I learned that are very productive when it comes to setting expectations and keeping those going and in your success, and that is be survival minded or have a survival mentality, or having being agenda driven, like I said before. They're both non-relational and they're non-productive. So by all means be proactive and go ahead and set those expectations, but keep relationship as the priority. So when you begin here, put your thinking into your plans of your expectations before the first day of school. If you've already started, then go ahead and get going with that. And review those expectations again in September, because children forget. And parents even forget. It's good for us to remind ourselves, oh yeah, what was the criteria for how we're handling this or that. So when you are doing your planning, also include routines in that, and that would be like getting started with the day, how we're going to handle materials, the care and keeping of those materials, ending the day. And if you establish those routines and expectations at the outset, you will save a lot of time, effort, and frustration and upsets later on. You'll also have tips for trading. You know what I mean? Tips for trading means like, okay, well, you'll kind of get that as we go along. But tips for trading when things are going exceptionally well or difficult. Here's the example. Wow, Olivia, you really did a great job putting away those reading materials, and you did that so quickly and quietly. You got your math down, you're ready to go. Here's whatever you choose for reward, a sticker or an extra 5 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever it is on the activity that you like. Or let's say that you have a child is having difficulty with reading, and they did a really good job reading that page. So you say, wow, you really, really did a great job reading that page all by yourself. Tell you what, I'm going to read the next page. You can follow along with your finger as we read along together. Or you even get any other sort of reward that you want. So because you set the expectations ahead of time and you let them know if you work hard, then this is what the reward is going to do. You just continue with the follow through with that. So the expectations can be as simple as 1, 2, 3 that I mentioned before: respect and wise choices and consequences. Or you can do a social contract. Have any of you ever done a social contract in your family? Okay? So, would you like to share anything about how that went?
Well, it's one of which they don't know ever. So, it's my first year in homeschool, and I said that he had a social contract last year. And so tomorrow was our official first day of school, and he already told me to write never last year's social contract, and tomorrow first thing we're gonna adjust it. And he's 6. I think that he's totally we're doing first.
Yeah. So that's the order. That's right. Okay, sure. That's the point.
Yeah. So that's what we're starting with. It's that injustice and just.
Awesome. So you can read that as a social contract. So a social contract is just an agreement between you. You can include your whole family on what is going to be the criteria for behavior, choices, consequences, rewards, and you can even have that extend just for your homeschool day or extend into further time for the day with your family. There are some examples of those on the internet. I did that years ago with my kids, and everybody signed it. So it was kind of a fun thing. I still have it. One of the beauties of homeschool is that you get to take your family and variable things like that, and involving everyone in the choice and the planning process, including the consequences, positive and negative, you get more buy-in, right? Instead of us telling them, everybody gets a buy-in, they get a voice. So let's see. Okay, so rewards. Your rewards can be something as simple as tiny little stickers. It's amazing how my little first graders get so thrilled with some tiny little smiley sticker. So it would be something really simple like that, or come to a cheap prize box at the end of the week if they met a certain, achievement goal that you set. So maybe getting 8 out of 10 on their spelling test or whatever it might be. Okay, so I do not have a social contract. I do not have rules. For my students, what I have is this. This is called reading flyers. My baby is superpower reading flyers. And so this is our how-tos. So I don't want it to be a negative kind of thing. I want it to be a positive thing. So we have the FLYERS. And so the F stands for find appreciation. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with Jim Wilder and the Life Model Works, but that's where some of this stuff comes from. Find appreciation is just looking for things to be grateful for and having a grateful attitude. Listening to learn, having a yes brain that grows, that comes from Dan Siegel. Excelling in effort, reading for fun, and sharing joy, which means we do things that make us happy to be together. So whenever my students are kind of, forgetting who they are or would like together, and then this is a very effective, simple, quick way to redirect forgetful students and reminding them who we are and what we're like together in a group. And so, let's see. Any questions on that? Comments? Okay, so as you go through these, I'm going to go ahead and share ours. So this is our expectation. My expectations for us tonight is to use a glass and have fun and be yourself bravely and stand up at these facilities as you need to. Ask questions or wait until the end, as we will have a Q&A time. Your questions might actually be answered along this way. All right, so the next is for the number 3 on our 1, 2, 3 is set clear objectives. So your objectives would include your why for homeschooling. What's your objective in homeschooling? Why are you doing that? Tom's shoe, he wrote a book about, discovering your why, and it's kind of become a buzz kind of thing in society today. So what's our why? What's your why in homeschooling? That would be an objective that you want to keep in mind. What are your why of what you're teaching, your objectives in your teaching, and you have objectives per subject. You want to keep these bigger objectives in mind when you are considering your objectives for a lesson. So I would tell my kids, when we talk about learning objectives, that how can you know when you get a car, if you don't have a destination, how will you know when you got there, right? Or you wandered around. Well, it's the same way with learning. We don't let kids know what we expect for that day or what they can expect to learn. It provides them a boundary, and we all know we feel better when we know what the boundaries are. So it's very, it increases the learning potential. As you get better at setting those objectives, even for the daily lesson, you'll be able to break those down into smaller objectives. So let's say the objective today is to write a 3 to 5 sentence paragraph on a recount being something that happened. And so we just write a paragraph, but they're like, they don't really know where to start or to end, right, or what to do. So we tell them, okay, you need to begin a sentence and an ending sentence, maybe a couple of sentences in the middle that kind of fill in what happened in the beginning and the middle part of it. And so that's setting up learning objectives. So when your children know what those objectives are and you know what they are, then you'll feel a whole lot more secure about what's going on. Okay, so what are our objectives today? When we leave tonight, you will have been introduced to Colorado homeschool guidance and where to find it. You will understand the homeschool model continuum concept and where your model area fits in that. And you'll have a starting point, at least for these other items: teaching multiple children, teaching children with special needs, planning a year's curriculum and calendar, mapping out each subject for a year, and creating a weekly and daily schedule. And you walk away with a list of a few resources. And I don't know, any of you that sounded like most of you have been homeschooling a while, so you all know that the resources are really just unlimited. Okay, so let me go ahead and introduce myself a bit. So I was a really good teacher from the time I was a child. I was Gaddis in neighborhood and teaching. I got my degree in elementary education. And then when our children came along, we started our homeschool adventure with our first when he was 4 years old. And all of our boys are 4 years apart, so my job is a lot easier than some of you. How many of you had yours close like 1 year or 2 years apart? Yeah, you most Friday doing multiple children at once. That's rough. Yeah. So when we started my son being engineering, he's really smart. I had a hard time tracking with him on elementary math. So he was a challenge. He was always pushing the limit from the time he was an infant. So we continued to homeschool him through 6 years in Africa, and when we came back, he wanted to be in sports, and so we put him in high school, and he ended up getting a salutatorian in his class in a primary nomination to West Point. Ended up actually having taken engineering pursuits to Africa for a couple of things, including, solving some water problem issues and some artificial limb things. And now he is into the world of Elon Musk and looking ahead to the world of engineering and manufacturing concerns there. So that's our first one. Our second one came along, he's way different. You really know that, right? How different they are. So our second one is a musician. He's techie, he's much more laid back. He was always telling one of the work-ons to push limit. You shouldn't do that, you're gonna get in trouble, or this is gonna happen, or that's gonna happen. And so the academics were also less appealing to me. He just, wanted to take shortcuts. He wanted to expedite the process. And at 16, he told us, I don't want to do school anymore. And we said, well, that's Paige. You need to get a GED and you need to drop it. So he tried to get his GED, but he was too young and we couldn't do it at 16. So he went out and bought a job at Police Stop here in town. And he ended up being promoted to assistant manager and passed his GED when he was 17. So from there, he moved to T-Mobile. And would you? Thank you. From there, he went to T-Mobile at Apple, and now he's working as a software testing analyst for Pulsar. And he and his wife are homeschooling their oldest daughter. And they'll be homeschooling. I think they have 2 girls right now. So our youngest, by the way, was definitely, he's kind of a mix of the two. He was 4 months old when we went to Africa. Thank you so much. And he's almost 6 when we came back. And by the time we got around to teaching him kindergarten, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, he already knew most of it. So like I said, he has the intensity of our oldest and even more artistic interest and expression than our second. And he claims to be an old man in a young man's body. So he pushed him beyond his years from a young age with a lot of things. He attended public school. I went ahead and went back to, we'll get into that later, but I went back to teaching in public schools when he was in 10th grade. So he entered public school in 10th, went to Watson, and then he did the PPCC dual credit program with Edison Academy and graduated at 18 with an associate's degree in graphic arts. So he's working now for an international graphic artist or design company out of Tennessee, but he works from home. Is taken into public school and one piece getting homeschooling this year. So that's really what got me back to wanting to get back into homeschooling. It's because my grandkids now are starting to homeschool and I've been helping them. And I'm like, I just want to be back to homeschool. So one of his PPCC instructors really hired him as an apprentice, and while he was attending here at PPCC, and he soon became known as the Phenom. I don't know if any of you know the 1P for First Press downtown. That's Mike's work. And I need to sit down. This is, I'm getting a cramp. Sorry. So, I'm sorry you can't see me if I sit down. I'll stand up in a minute. Okay. So, Mike's also, I would say, he's homeschooling. So, we try to cultivate support for whatever that they wanted to do, the critical thinking, the broad worldview, as well as their series of interests and skill development with their kids. But even with our best efforts, we failed. And we succeeded. Just like everybody, right? And so we learned and grew together. I redeemed my education. I had a dysfunctional childhood, and I was a trouble reader, and I was very smart, but I just missed a lot of school. We moved a lot, and so I redeemed that education with my kids when I was teaching. And you guys can do the same thing. You can learn right along with them. My daughter-in-law says that she's doing that with hers. So my happiest years, I say, were when I was teaching my kids. And so they're really important, valuable years for you guys to enjoy as well. So on that note, let's do that. So how many of you are asking yourself, can I do this? Are you asking that as a question? Yeah? Well, I can tell you you can do it, okay? You don't have to be a teacher, you don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have all the answers, you just can do some things that I'm going to tell you here. So I'm going to ask you some questions. These are things that I think are important. Can you attune to the needs of your child? And attune comes from, it's a buzzword too, but Dan Siegel says it's holding the heart of another in your hands. I really like that definition, holding the heart of another in your hands. It will make the most significant impact on your sense of self and personhood and the level of cooperation between you when you sense that with someone. So can you be authentic and vulnerable and learn right along with your children? And can you teach them how to learn by modeling exploration of questions and ideas? Can you teach them to love learning through curiosity and inquiry? And can you help them to be okay with failing forward with a growth mindset? And can you help them know that they matter and that what they think and feel and want matters? Okay. Now how do you feel about it? Can you do it? Can I get this in? Remember what we said? You are more than enough for your children. All right. So I spent 20 years in the public school system, and I can tell you that I understand the pros and the cons, and the beauty of homeschooling is that you have the power to provide your children with the foundations they need to explore their story in God and to become all that they were designed to be, that He created them to be. You know them better than anyone else, and you have more power than anyone else to open your child's heart and their mind. All right. So, how did I get here? So, upon return to Africa in 2000, we settled in a small town in Oregon, and I worked as a sub coordinator for homeschool public school programs. I advised homeschool families, and I assisted with curriculum selection and lesson planning and proctored Bob Jones testing. So, pretty much A to B homeschool, I can do it. So I pursued and received an endorsement to my teaching license in speaking to English speakers of other languages, just English to speakers of other languages out of my interest from living in Africa. And in 2007, we returned to Colorado Springs, and I began tutoring homebound students for District 2 and District 11. And I was advocating and tutoring Burundian refugees there and working with as a tutor, as an interpreter for Swahili. And by 2008, I was hired with District 8 as an ESL teacher. And within short order, I realized I don't know what I need to. So I pursued my master's in teaching English to speakers of other languages and got that within the year. And I really love being an ELL teacher. I love working with ELL families. It brings something to the table that monolingual people, unfortunately, just don't have, because they have the ability to categorize and compartmentalize things in their brain so they can sort through important information faster than monolinguals can do. So one of my students really changed my pursuits. He suffered from dyslexia, and at the time was unrecognized in Colorado. We couldn't even use the word dyslexia. And we weren't, though this young man was very intelligent, he came from engineering parents, he could carry genetic markers for dyslexia, and I did not have what I needed then either to support him. I didn't have the knowledge base or the expertise, and that frustrated me again. So when I feel like I need to know something and I don't know it, I just do what I have to do and figure out where I can learn it. So in 2017, I advocated with our district, and I think they were already on that, on the track for doing that. So they brought training to our district for supporting students that were struggling in reading. I don't know if you guys know this, but Colorado has less than 50% proficiency rate in reading, third grade and 12th grade. And it was 41% in 2015. And they gradually inched up a little bit since they added CMAS, but it's still under 45%, or right around 45%. So they brought the district-wide training for us, and I got OT Work Gillingham training and others training to become a reading specialist. Still, in the last 6 years doing that, I'm still limited within this system. Can't get done what I want to get done. And so I stand before you today as a educational entrepreneurial educator ready to offer support to homeschool families. So I specialize in literacy instruction for your child. You won't have the limitations of the public school system. So you got a lot of information from the table back there. The ladies were so great to get all that stuff ready for you guys. All right, so what is your story? I wish I could go around the table and just ask for everybody's story. I would love to hear you, and hopefully I'll get to know some of you more over the next few months, weeks, I don't know. So I saw that there were just a couple people that this is your first year of homeschooling. Is that right? Could you please raise your hand? This is your first year? Okay, great. Wow, great result. And how about you have at least a year under your belt? 2 to 5 years? Okay, more than 5 years? Oh, wow, great. We call you guys platinums, right? He was a word. That's awesome. Okay, so I would like to also go ahead and take our temperature for comfort level with the topic. So I would like you to give me a show of hands. So a straight hand like this is you're a little bit apprehensive about the homeschooling prospect right now. This is a so-so, and this is you feeling pretty good about it. These guys give me a, okay, we've got some so-sos, we've got some apprehension. All right, it's a good mix. Look around at your table and see what you got there. Okay, if you feel comfortable, I would like you to stand, and I would like you to just get up from your table and go find somebody from a different table and share, if you would, why you answered the way you did. Go ahead, I'll give you 2 minutes. Go ahead, come be brave. Be brave. Be brave.
Oh, I've never. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely doing it, but technically kind of how to do it. And then it's creepy. All of the land is like, but I know, I'm Stephen, like, he said, all these done. It do the stab and then you can eat our like, yeah, it's good, not good. It's hard, I'm excited, and fun, I forgot to have it. No, and then 5 days better. I can deliver the hour, the whole deal. Or minutes, 20 minutes. I think I'm really excited and they're our we are hot, yes, we will at least walk. And when you get off the building, figure day of your fully recreate that, how we got it. Well, although I was and then later up there on it, so we did kind of see what it did like. In the good one. Well, they really have the whole come down. Everything does. Now, I really have, you know, the like a more than that. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a say that. So, I'm here. We're going to talk to my dirty guys today. I got so mind holding time. Yeah, I got to them that. Yeah, I'm going to come to the kill it. I'm sorry. They want to see basically like, you know, and you really I think and it's my work was my daughter and then Hans his even so and you know so and like I thought silly that in the side I just it's but it's the same. I'm just eating nothing. No, I had a they out it is the grace of the least. You that and what is it well? But some days and times we are. All right. Are you ready to figure out this all out of a statue? And then they but say you know and there will be yeah.
So we're going to get down to the 8 and the topic, which is our first of all, we have on dailies. So each one of you will have to determine your disposition in relationship to the state expectations. My disposition towards the state of Colorado is different than it was in the state of Florida when I first started homeschooling. In Florida, I didn't want to give the state any information about my children. But, you know, I know that it's up to each person has to determine their own disposition. Colorado has a fairly large homeschool population, and you are a good company here in Colorado Springs. There are, a number of groups ready to support your nomination processes. And do we have any representatives here for homeschool groups tonight, from other homeschool groups? No? Yes, no? Sort of?
I'm not a representative, but I'm not part of the school group. It's really
It's called Home.
yeah. It's only $25 a year. It's like field trips and different.
It's field trips and all different ages. Every week there's usually multiple activities you choose to go to, so it's in front of the different white and kids. So that's been great. Great, thank you, Sharon. All right, so what does the state say about homeschooling in Colorado? And it's interesting that some people are really not aware that, you know, my daughter just came and she was in Chicago. They lived in Texas and now they moved to Chicago, and she was surprised that they had these strict expectations in Colorado. But, so it is deregulated according to Colorado. By the way, you have in your resources, at the last page of your packet, there's a resources link, and the link is on there for where to find these on the CDE website, which is really amazing. A lot of times it's difficult to find. But if you just Google what you're looking for, CDE, and whatever the topic is, usually it'll pull it up for you. So you have in there's a link for attendance, and there's a link for the law. And at the bottom of this page, this first page that says choice./homeschool, they have, let's see, what did I say they had on the end of there? The overview page, there's a links for frequently asked questions, the statute, resources, and a state contact person. So the state doesn't provide oversight or interpret the law, as homeschool is considered non-public education. That's what the site says. CDE does provide some helpful information on their site, that they do seem to be homeschool friendly. At the bottom of so the site says homeschool is deregulated, as I said here. Parents or guardians take on all responsibility for establishing the curriculum, and you have to pay for all your own materials unless you enroll in some sort of enrichment program, and then you get some assistance that way. Parents have 3 options. So the first one is to align with some public school protocols that are outlined in option 1 below. We'll go over those. Or 2 is to enroll in a private or independent or umbrella school. Then you follow their guidelines for attendance and evaluations of progress. Or you can do option 3, which is to involve a certified teacher. Now, I've heard the interpretation of this. Some people say that it's the parent that's the certified teacher, but when I looked at the law, it doesn't say it has to be the parent. It just says it has to be a certified teacher. So if you, I told my son he didn't have to provide letter of intent because I'm giving oversight of his program, but he chose to do that anyway because they're enrolling in a District 20 enrichment program and they wanted it in NOI. So NOI, by the way, is notice of intent. Okay? All right. So the option 1 requirements according to the law. So first you have to provide this letter of intent or notice of intent 14 days before you begin homeschooling, and it has to be to a district office. It doesn't have to be to the district that you're living in. It could be any Colorado district office. And you need to include the name, the age, the residence, and the attendance hours that you intend to. And you can get some, formats off of the internet. You do that every year. You have to do it every year. And that is for children 6 through 16. So you have to provide a notice of intent at age 6, but you don't have to start educating until age 7. So I don't know why they have that differentiation. All right, so the law also states that you establish the program and is expected for ages 7 and up. You choose the curriculum and you oversee the program. Certain subjects must be included over the time. And there's your subjects. The communication skills need to be reading, writing, speaking, math, history and civics, literature, science, and the U.S. Constitution. Oh, that should have been capitalized. Sorry about that. So, the minimum number of days is 172 days, and the average hours needs to be 4 hours. But I say that with a caveat because the law does stipulate the hours, the minimum hours for like early elementary, middle elementary, middle school, and high school. The hours are different. So as they get older, the hours need to increase. However, in school, as you know, a lot of times they get it done a lot faster. They don't mess around with all the stuff we do in public school. All right, so records, you need to keep your records, and so the records need to be attendance, tests, evaluation, shop records at a minimum. And if the school district, for some reason, suspects, for whatever reason, they can say that they want to see your records, and perhaps they think that you're not meeting sufficient progress or whatever, and they give you 14 days notice, and you are required to provide them according to the law. Whether or not anybody's going to follow up on that, I can't say. All right, and for assessment, they do want assessment at grades 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, so the odd years. And so you're not required to start testing or start educating till like 7. You need to test by age 9. And the assessments need to have a composite score that puts them in at least the 13th percentile. It's good thing we make it that low because public education would fail.
Where do you access those things?
So assessments, you can request. You can make a request for participation in state testing to your district, and you could ask them if they would allow you to participate there. Some school districts are even offering to where you can go in and do art classes or math classes or whatever as a homeschooler. So I know that District 20 has a homeschool program, so they may provide testing. What district are you in? 20.
You didn't go to around like RCA or if you did the law first. Put it up testing.
Yes.
Also, they would teach you
You can do it online.
you can buy it at a time.
Okay.
I'm so being done.
Okay. And do you proctor that yourself, or do you hire a proctor?
You could just love that particular test. You don't have to ask like
Okay.
read to it all.
Okay.
It's just like all game. They do it.
Okay. This is a California test. You go online and
Yeah, and then how much was it?
And $20.
$20. Well, that's all around.
Yeah, around $20.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I used to do test proctoring for options. I think I'm going to apply to do that again, but yeah, you can hire a certified teacher to do the test as well. And then, but it is at your expense for whatever it is. I don't know if District 20 says if you were in an enrichment program, they're already getting money from the state, so they should provide a way free. Yeah. Okay, so.
I understand about the option to defend the law again. Also, others about by a teacher that you provide like those two.
Yes.
Necessarily cuts well. You write under we're evaluated. Like they just come very disability for movement and then from and that's
And the evaluator just have to say that they're making progress. That's it. They just need to say they're making
Is
progress.
there a resource for accessing those types of evaluators from Spleon? Doctors are in Springfield, okay.
There's like 6 or 7 in Colorado Springs.
I would do it. I would do it. Yeah. So, results of the test then are supposed to be communicated to the school district if you're following through with that option number 1. Okay. So, I already talked about the links coinciding with all of that. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on to working with students with special needs. Did I ask, are any of you working with students with special needs? Okay. Okay. You, Sam, are you special needs?
She's got a dyslexic daughter.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So, I just, yeah. Okay. So, just like you don't need an education degree, teacher's license to homeschool, you don't have to have a special education degree to teach a child with special needs. No one knows your child as well as you do, right? And from their unique special qualities to their unique special needs, it just means special needs students, they get that designation because maybe they read something a little bit more than somebody else does on a certain thing. So I think that the flexibility of homeschool is appropriate for homeschooling some special needs students because you have that flexibility to really, teach to their strengths and to their weaknesses, make those things up, help them to feel that sense of empowerment instead of feeling like they're different than everybody else all the time. What was that? Oh, I'm sorry. Establishing the right program and choosing the right materials would generally follow the same protocol for special needs students that we're outlining in the presentation today. So I'll kind of point those things out as we go along. All right, but there are some accommodations that we can make to help them, and this is what they would be. So first of all, slower pacing. So pacing is just how fast you're moving along in the lesson, how fast you move through material in general, and you would want to include more multisensory opportunities within the learning, less reading or writing, fewer problems to solve or questions to answer, or words to test, frequent breaks, and special technology. And as an ELL teacher, these are the same things that I would give to an ELL student. And they're, everybody is intelligent in their own right, and these are things that everybody can benefit from time to time. So when I'm learning something new, I'm definitely going to go slower. So changing. All right, some cautions there with going slower and making accommodations for special needs students. Please, 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 please do not exclude those higher order thinking skills and questions. Include reasoning when making contextual questions like, why do you think? Or how would you approach solving this problem in the world? Like, how does the problem in this story connect to whatever? You can Google higher order thinking skills or higher level thinking, and you get all kinds of different questions to include in there because because they need to have some different accommodations doesn't mean they shouldn't use their brains on those higher order skills. So, and encouragement also for them is, you know your child and their powers and their limits better than anyone else. And by powers, I mean their exponential potential. So I want to encourage you to just have them just draw on that. And you can use biographies of people with brave or learning differences to encourage and inspire your children. This list is some famous dyslexics: Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Muhammad Ali, Richard Branson, Patrick Dempsey, Jamie Oliver. So, have you ever seen the movie Temple Grandin? Great story of someone that really overcame severe autism, and she impacted the way we slaughter beef for the whole world. An amazing story. What's that? She's a professor at CMU. Yes, I forgot that. Yeah, it's been a while since I saw that. So, so history's full of people with different issues, different processing issues, whether it's auditory or orthographic or meaning processing or molecular processing. So many children with learning differences are what we call twice exceptional. So twice exceptional means that they have both maybe a learning deficit or difference and a learning advantage. So maybe they're gifted in a certain area and maybe they struggle in another area. And it could be they may be gifted in more than one area or struggling in more than one area. But they have, maybe they're normal in some areas. So those are things that when you figure out your curriculum, we're going to talk about that. You look for a curriculum that's going to allow you for that difference. All right, and I would like to take a brain break, okay? Let's take a 2-minute break. Go ahead and stand up. If you need to run to the bathroom real quick, I probably should, and then we'll go back. So, if you want to open up your packet to the homeschool model continuum, it looks like this. Okay. So, for discussion purposes, I would like to just consider that homeschooling is a continuum. I think of a lot of things in spreadsheets, continuums, and so I just put 4 points on this illustration. So, if you look over on the left, we see that home life is school, and on the right is school at home. So this is more what I did. I was a trained teacher, right? So I did more school at home. Some people, they're more comfortable making life at home their school. And at public school, this is the type of plan that parents took that caused public school educators to despise homeschooling. They think, oh, you're just making an excuse, you're not going to do anything for your child, you're not doing right by them, you're bringing them back to us after you say that you're going to homeschool, and you bring them back 6 months later or 3 months later, and they're worse off than for before you've woken them up the first time. So this is not a model I would recommend doing school at home unless you're very intentional about it and you're making at least some form of lessons in there. In your handout, you have the columns there that will tell you in the little table what each of the 4 dots represent on the continuum. So the first one says, that there's no formal lessons or planning in the academic sense for number 1. So for number 2, you're moving along on the continuum there. You might have some reading going on, some discussion, maybe some math instruction, maybe even with the curriculum, while also using other life at home opportunities for learning, like animal husbandry or growing art, maybe other parent-centered life as learning resources. This is something I would have in mind of back in the 1800s or whatever, when really we were a rural, even it doesn't have to be that far, maybe even in the 1930s, the 40s and 50s, where they needed the children home for taking care of the farm, and so you had to fit in school in between. And we still have some of that agrarian, what would that word be? Agrarian, thank you, honey. Agrarian lifestyles where that might work well. So the content and the structure may be dictated by choice or the needs of the family as a whole, and perhaps for sustenance or survival. So coursework learning may be provided by others, fathers, other family members, or caretakers passing on their interests and knowledge to their children using methods unconventional to modern schooling. So the choices there can include homeschool, support groups, or enrichment programs, maybe even some online or video coursework. So the object of this exercise here is for you to kind of see where you fit in this. So keeping that in mind as we move along, going further to the right, maybe you have more of a preference for more structured or prepackaged coursework. So that's going to move you further along to the right towards school at home. You plan a daily or weekly learning schedule. You have more subjects included. Your curriculum may be a combination of pre-packed coursework or maybe for reading and math, those core subjects, and maybe even some teacher guides. But then you have other selected materials for special interests for yourself or your children. So you have a loose plan that might look like so many lessons or chapters or pages per day, per subject, or per week per subject. But then when the family tires of the schedule, no big deal. We take a few days, we take a week, now we pick back up where we left off, and you just keep going. So this might be a year-round looking model with flexibility to take time off. So assessments are standing based on standardized testing. It's not critical, and it may or may not be included as part of the planning or implementation process. And choices may also include homeschool support groups here as well, or enrichment programs, online or video coursework. So, school at home, number 4. So this is more strictly structured, established and adhered to for daily, weekly, and annual planning. The subject and the curriculum choices are more closely aligned with public education criteria and standards. Students may be tested to determine placement and achievement according to those state standards. And your lesson plans are closely followed, and some form of regular assessment guides your instruction. Parents, do you know what I mean by that? Assessment guiding your instruction. That means you test them on these words they didn't get, have them right, so you give them to them again next time instead of moving on to the next word. It's that kind of thing. Or you tested them on, a math concept they really don't understand, carrying or borrowing. So you need to, if you have to assess them, then you go back and reteach. So that's what guided instruction means based on assessment. So our parents are looking to replicate what's happening in the public school system with this model. Your choices can still include the same thing: your enrichment groups, your programs, video, or online coursework. Okay, so there are a lot of influences on what model fits best with your family. When you consider your subject, your parent availability, your parent involvement, the number of children you have, special needs, learning styles, technology preferences, and other interests. So you have an extensive worksheet in your packet. So you have a short form questions to answer, and you have a long form. So it depends on how involved you want to get in really considering all the things that would determine where you fit and how you want to plan your model. So for quick purposes here, I'm going to let you dig into this for about 5 minutes or so. I need to be done by, okay, so we're running a little bit behind with the bathroom break. So, as much as possible, I want you to try to match your curricular choices to student learning and personality styles. There's a learning styles graphic in there in your packet as well, and it's got more than just the usual auditory, visual, or kinesthetic. So it's got more information in there for you to kind of determine where do you fit and where does your child fit, because if there's a big difference, your teaching style and their learning style are going to need to have some adjustments for alignment. Okay. This takes some trial and error, and seasoned homeschoolers can be a treasure trove of information for you on specifics on being able to teach when there's those differences there going on. All right, so let's go ahead and take some time for you to dig into this. I want you to make some notes or chat at your table. What are the influences impacting your homeschool model? Consider your budget, your time, your why, your children, your preferences, and where do you see the fit in the model on this continuum? Okay. Do you fit more to the left or more to the right? And you're going to look at your graphic there. And I'm going to say that most people, the majority of families, will probably fit in between 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. All right, you can go ahead and have a few minutes to chat.
All board. I just want to get him out of here. So. Perfect. It's obviously, yeah. I didn't have the right.
Yes.
it picture immediately. Really always. He does. I think one. Oh yes, if you're smaller, I'm able to use it. It is right. I'm gonna do it. That's how. So I forgot to go this type of pretty cool. Sorry, I'm just wrong. Really, so much. And maybe she was deeper in that. Yeah, we're saying. So, and that worked for us. She couldn't know anything about her. Oh, she's got her phone busy. Her guys. He tweets her up. Yeah, I feel like you always married you. You. Oh, no, right. It's a little. And that's good. And it's LPC. Very good. She though. And what you were creative, like it happened on you realize quite the listing on the neck and the carry you made in the morning. So like it's easier to use not very poorly still and so that. Alright, to cut you off. Let's go down in the block where send her. There, no doubt, you know, kind of where you're sitting as a model. You can begin planning your coursework. Now, I've been in this just element grades here is to be grading big one. I've got and oh, sorry. I'm going to pass this around. This has a plan for my son Michael when he was attending PPCC. So this kind of has a course plan where it includes everything going on. So you can kind of see that. You can look through any of this package you want. Go ahead and pass that around. So when you're planning your coursework, you're going to ask yourself some questions. Your questions is like, what subjects or courses are you going to include, and what materials will you need, and where are you going to get them? And that's what you will put in your framework for your course plan. So in your curriculum selection, you're going to think about the level of what's appropriate. Is it appropriately leveled and provide both the support and a challenge for your child? So in other words, just because you think they should be in grade 3, but they're really in grade 1, go ahead and give them grade 1. Because you need to teach them at their level with a little bit of a challenge, not so high that they're going to be overwhelmed. And you want to have the scaffolding, which is going to provide modeling for them, which is I do, we do, you do. You show and demonstrate, then you practice together, and then you release them gradually to show a dependent demonstration that they've mastered the skill. Allow for independent grade level selection like I've talked about before, where maybe they're in 3rd grade in math, but they're in 8th grade in language arts, vice versa. And flexible pacing to match with your needs for your family. It matches your student learning style, your parent style, like we talked about. And include your child in the process, in the selection process, in the discussion. And does the multimedia and interactive level match what your family needs and priorities are? If you don't want your kids on electronic devices, so you don't want any of that sort, but maybe one parent just mentioned she is a homeschool, a single parent, and she needs to be able to have her child be more independent on their work, so maybe you want more video or online learning. And then the multisensory approach definitely improves learning for all students and is critical for students with learning differences. Okay, so let's go down. So when you have multiple children, you might want to plan 2 or 3 years out. And the reason why is because it'll help to facilitate coordinating certain subjects, whether it's like literacy, reading, literature, history. Sunlight is a really neat provider of programs like this, to where you can have several different grade levels all studying the same time in history. You have they've already coordinated the reading for you, to where you can just have
reading at the level of each student, but you're all on the same page. So it's really helpful for moms. Combining some subjects for children that are close together in age, consider some online or video subjects, and rotating your schedule around so that you have one student with you when the other student is working independently, and vice versa. That's what teachers do. They do their small group reading while their children are doing seat work, and then they rotate their reading groups. So use the AM or the nap time for those challenging subjects or student activities. Okay, all right. And I'm kind of skimming through these things. So for a calendar, you want to think about how many days a week are you going to school? Are you going to plan, you want your lesson plans to be for 4 days a week or for 5 days a week? Are you doing an enrichment program 1 day a week or not? You're going to take holidays and breaks. And so you think about that when you're planning out your calendar. You can download a pre-made calendar from public or independent schools, or you can create your own in Excel or an app. And in that packet that's passing around, I have 2 examples of calendars, one that I did in Excel and one that I created by using an academic calendar from August to June. Homeschoolhub.com, if any of you are using Bob Jones, they have a free calendar in the checklist that just automatically uploads whatever subjects you're doing on there for you, and so you can just go on there and check those off. So, moving on to mapping materials. So let's say that you have science as one of your subjects, and the textbook has 232 pages, so you want to make sure you get through the whole book in the period of time you have. And you're planning to do 172 days of school, so you just take the 232 and divide it by 172 days or 36 weeks, whichever one you want to use, and you get 6.44 pages per week. And then you can bump that to 7 pages a week and you'll be finished early. And if you really like having a nice full view, you can make a 1-pager that has, and some of that is included in your packet. There's one in there that's kind of a section of an algebra 2 that has, you just put your days down in one column, and then the pages that you're going to do, or the chapter or whatever, in the next column, and I do that kind of stuff in Excel. And that is really nice to have the whole year on one page, and you can take a peek at any time and figure out, oh yeah, by this week in school I should be up to so many pages for so many lessons, and we're behind, we need to catch up. So that's a really, really powerful tool for somebody that likes tracking where you're going. So some resources for you on curriculum suggestions, Sunlight, Ambleside, and these are on your resources list as well. There we go. Okay. So, Ambleside Online is a Charlotte Mason-based Time for Learning. Time for Learning has a lot of resources for working with special needs students, and they have an adaptive curriculum for online if anybody's looking for online stuff. And there is a list of homeschool curriculums, PDF. I think Melissa copied that. Did you copy that, Melissa, that 2-page that had front and back of elementary school and secondary school? Okay, great. So you probably have that. It's on learningcolor.com, homeschool curriculums, HTML. That's where that came from. Okay, all right. So creating an annual calendar. We did it, I kind of did that really fast, did the mapping. All right. So creating a daily or a weekly schedule. So you're asking yourself, what subjects do I want to plan to include? How many hours a day do I want to do school? And what enrichment classes or tutoring do I need to work into my schedule? And so it might look something like this, and it's going to be different for everybody. But this would be kind of a guideline. So for language arts, you're going to do reading, spelling, grammar, writing. And for the older grades, that will be more integrated. For the elementary grades, it's going to be more segmented. So you want to spend 45 to 90 minutes on all of that in student work. And then if you're doing any read alouds or maybe sometime with mom, you might be 20 to 30 minutes parent time. And for math, I recommend that 4 to 5 days a week, 30 to 75 minutes. So the lower number is for the lower elementary grades, and then the higher number would be for middle and high schoolers. And then elementary science would include health. So you can see there that, and that's in your chart, you can see what all those expectations are. You know, in a kindergarten and first grade, they don't segment out history and science, and all of that is just built into their reading. It's part of the reading. And so you can just include that in there. But when you get up to grades 2 through 5, you want to spend at least 20 to 30 minutes, 2 to 3 days a week with that. And for history, you want to do 2 to 5. So that would be like 30 minutes for those lower grades and then 60 minutes for the higher grades. Then for science and history, middle and high schoolers, you want 45 to 60 minutes each on those. And then you could fit in everything else you want around that. That would be my recommendation. Okay. All right. Now I did include in your packet, there is a schedule that was from Michael. It's this, thank you, Cornelia. It's this page. It's, but that was his schedule, and that was his checklist. You like having the checklist. So you have that in there as well. Okay. So when you leave tonight, this is what we said our expectations were for our learning and our objectives. And hopefully I feel like I haven't overwhelmed you all too much and that you're walking away with something valuable to take with you. You do have the resources and links there, and tell you a little bit about me. So, as I said, I just started Education Services Center. I taught a summer school this year, and I know this was as of July 31st. So I'm just out of the gate. I'm on small group literacy classes that do consultation and planning, reading assessments, lesson planning, guidance, tutoring, and test proctoring. And tutoring is really, I can do up to middle school, but I have not taught anybody about any tutoring in middle school in a while, so I'm just going to let you know I'd be a little rusty at the start of there. But I have taught K-12. I'm endorsed in K-12 as any level teacher, so test proctoring, yeah, is in there. So here's a picture. That's a couple pictures of my classroom. We just turned our lower level into a classroom, so we just set up just like you would see. It's actually bigger than the classroom I had at school. So we're ready and raring to go. And these are the services that I offered in more detail, like I said. And then I am going to open it up for questions.
You said that your son at 16 wanted to do his GED and just work.
Yes.
And I have a son who's 16 who wants to do that same thing. So can you tell me what that looked like?
So he went to the high speed, you know, Debra?
What was the question again?
She has a son who wants to get his GED, and it's been so long ago, I know it's on high peak. It's down by workforce. I think it's at the workforce.
For the GED or?
Well, it's better to take the high set because of actual high school equivalency, but you can take the GED too, but there's age requirements for being under 17 to meet certain guidelines. My son's 14 and wants to do that.
14 wanted to do it, so.
Yes. Well, what's interesting is that they can look socks out of them.
Well, District 2, District 11, I know has a GED program that students can actually enroll in and get all of the instruction and so forth in preparation for taking the test. Because my understanding is the test is not easy.
Okay.
You really need to study for it.
said if our homeschool is not credentialed, then we should just be getting pass-fail grades. But I don't know if anybody else has that experience.
They said what?
They said she would just be getting pass-fail for the homeschool.
On her transcripts.
On her transcripts.
So she
Yeah.
If you
I'm
went
getting
back to her
clarification,
lectures.
I'm getting clarification on that tomorrow because my son is doing homeschool for some work classes, but he's taking principles of engineering and geometry at the high school. So he's like dual enrolled at the high school. And so I just had this exact question for them to find out, what, are they gonna put my stuff on their transcript and he gets a diploma at the end? Or are they, are you familiar with this or am I taking it?
Is it standardized or is it just different high schools have?
So I know that when my son was ready to go into 10th grade, what we did is we provided, this is why it's really important to keep good records, because if you have your records of what you've done, then you can submit that. So we submitted to Dave Roshi, who at the time was in collaboration with PPCC, and we showed him what we had been doing, and he gave us credits, and he provided a transcript. So I don't know, in a lot of these rural schools that need enrollment, they are offering things like that. Now, the state was giving him a lot of guff about it, so I'm not sure what the status is on that now. And if anybody else has any info on those kinds of things, you can let me know.
We were given.
What'd you say?
Some of the umbrella schools will
Yes.
help you create a
Yes,
transcript.
that's what I'm talking about.
CD umbrella, you mean homeschool?
So an umbrella school is an independent school, yes.
Even though I'm not using their program.
So you would have to pay some of them are like 25%, there's a lot out there, but some of them will help you formulate a transcript that will be foolproof for the high school to actually take it.
And when our oldest son, when we came back from Africa, we moved to Oregon, he was actually in 10th grade, but they wouldn't enroll him in 10th grade, so he had to enroll as 9th grader, but he was already ahead for his age, and so it was no big deal, so they let him go in as a 9th grader. He didn't have any previous high school transcripts.
So I got some more information, so I found on the CD, I'll be handled, I can do this, so.
I found on the CDE website, there's this section, section 4, and it says any child who participated in a non-public home-based educational program and who subsequently enrolls in a public school system may be tested, blah, 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 blah. But then it says, the school district shall accept the transcripts for credit from the non-public home-based educational program for any child, except they can test them to see if they are up to par.
But they'll give you a pass or fail on the transcript.
Is that what you mean?
Transcripts, I see, like, you got an A in history. Yeah,
You still get credit.
Yeah, but it won't be like, okay, like my public schooler when he did high school, his transcripts say that like math, pre-algebra 1, he had an 89, and so he had a B+.
Right.
It'll just say pass or fail on the transcript.
So how many credits they don't get
No, it's exactly equivalent. Yeah.
It's not like college where you grade each so many points.
Yeah.
Well, it's just that it could affect you. I mean, the registrar said it could affect you if you try to go to college.
No, well, Pikes Peak State College will work with homeschoolers, 100%.
Colleges like homeschoolers.
They do, because they do better, they perform better. The only thing they perform poorly on is writing, and that's statewide, not public school, homeschool, it doesn't matter what it is. Yeah.
We had teachers with that because as well, and they gave us recommended grades in the past. So the child got a pass with the recommended grade, so if you do the transcript yourself, which is what we wound up doing, we just combined homeschool and high school, put together our own transcript.
Oh, okay.
We got the information from the teacher, like, okay, your kid got an 85, like I recommend B, great, we'll put that right on our transcript.
Did you get a template offline?
Yep. Yeah, we got that, and it was accepted at PPCC.
Awesome.
And it went great for high school. So we just did it ourselves and combined all of our things we had done, and it worked fine.
That you may possibly have for college, the way you call it, being a homeschooler, is that they may require some more entrance exams. So, because my oldest, he did dual homeschool and public, information. Sure, thank you.
So I realize some of you certainly have been homeschooling for a long time. Some of you are re-entering or trying to decide, and some of you are fairly new, but hopefully this was kind of a reset for you to some degree. Some new information, maybe you needed to tweak some things and begin to look at some things differently. So even if you've been in the homeschool world for a long time, sometimes every time it's good to get a new idea, a new perspective and say, you know, I hadn't thought about that. Or maybe this will work better for Johnny because what I've been doing is not working for Johnny. So one size doesn't fit all, even in the homeschool world. Just like one size doesn't fit all in public charter and homeschool. So you want to make sure, so thank you, Ms. Debra, for the resources. Also on the website, there is a link under, I think it's schools, or it might be under parents, that has a homeschool link on there as well. That will take you to some additional resources that are on there, as well as getting information in terms of the state requirements. And the biggest piece is that keep good records. Keep good records. Because when your homeschooler is ready to transition from high school to college, you don't want people questioning their grades, their transcript, or any of that information. So keep good records, and if you're utilizing other alternatives, homeschool programs, classical conversations, and other homeschool programs in District 49 or District 2 or District 20 or whatever, and you've got your scholars attending maybe a class in those, make sure you get good information back from them as well that you can utilize. Now, one of the things we're always asked from homeschoolers is, we don't do report cards. So what do we need to do for Parents Challenge in turning in a report card? You gotta turn in something. You gotta know that your scholar has been in school the entire semester. So whatever you create is fine with us. But we have to have something that says they're passing, they're failing, something. Or if you don't, or however you measure that. We don't need you to write us a book or anything. That's not required, but we do need some type of document that just says that your scholar has completed these subjects and they're ready for the next grade.
I can do a class on using Excel.
Okay, so contact Ms. Debra. Now what's nice, Ms. Debra also is starting her whole education center. Tons of resources that she's had. She's been homeschooling she homeschooled for 17 years and has taught in public school for a number of years. So if you are looking for a resource, this is where your grant dollars could be used, those that are homeschool families, for a service of this nature. You've got scholars that are struggling and you need tutors and so forth. We're going to be providing an update to our resource list of all of the organizations and individuals that we've vetted that can be utilized, but you certainly can utilize any other resources that you want to tap into. Okay. So how many of you are my platinum families? Okay, make sure you pick up your platinum star when you leave. And then my gold families. You're starting over, so you're new. Platinum, we got about 4 or 5. Raise your hand if you're platinum. Awesome, awesome. And my gold ones. If you're gold family, which means that you've been in the program at least 1 year. And my newbies, welcome. We don't have a name for you, just welcome. We're glad that you're here in our program this year. So again, hopefully you were able to pick up a few nuggets, and for those of you that have been doing it a long time, some resets of things that you could potentially do different. So you know, at the end of every session, there's 2 things.
Thank you. We want to make sure that
you all find the front page of your handout that has a QR code, and if you've got your phone handy, you'd like to scan it. This is a survey. This helps us and Debra know what your takeaways were from the program this evening, what went well, what you wish you would have probably made more of. So we would like you to fill out this survey quickly. I'm going to give you a few minutes, and then we're going to door prizes.